My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 32, and I build firewalls for a living. Cybersecurity engineer, 8 years in the field. My life used to be simple. Work, coffee, code, gym, sleep, repeat. No surprises, no chaos, no heartbreak. I liked it that way. Then, I met Lena Carter at a friend's dinner party. She was the kind of person who filled a room just by smiling. Her laugh was bright, unguarded, contagious. We talked for hours that night. She asked what I did. I tried to explain encryption like it was poetry. She said she loved that I could make boring things sound alive. She worked in marketing, creative agency downtown. Ambitious, funny, and always 2 steps ahead of everyone. She dreamed of starting her own firm someday. I admired that drive. We started seeing each other every weekend. Coffee dates turned into sleepovers. Sleepovers turned into mornings that felt like home. We had our little rituals. Saturday brunch at the same cafe. Late night walks through the quiet streets. Cooking pasta together, even when we were exhausted. She teased me for alphabetizing my spice rack. I teased her for never finishing her coffee. Everything felt balanced. I was steady, she was spontaneous. Opposite forces that somehow fit. My sister liked her immediately. That was rare. She said Lena had a good heart. My friends loved her too. They said I looked happier, lighter. And I was. For almost 2 years, we built a rhythm that felt solid. We took trips to the coast. Shared playlists on road drives. Talked about the future like it was guaranteed. She even left a toothbrush at my place. 1 became 2. Then a drawer. Then half a closet. Before I realized it, she was part of everything. She knew how I liked my eggs. She could tell when my code was frustrating me. We rarely fought. Even our arguments ended with laughter. When I pictured my life 5 years ahead, she was there. It felt safe. It felt right. But small things started to shift. She stopped staying over on Fridays. She said she was too tired or had client events. Her phone was always close, always silent. When I reached for her hand, she sometimes pulled away without noticing. I told myself it was stress. I told myself all couples go through phases. I didn't want to be paranoid. Love makes you blind in gentle ways. Still, a quiet voice in my chest whispered that something was off. But I ignored it. Because love also makes you hopeful. And I wasn't ready to imagine a world where she wasn't mine. Not yet. It began with small changes. Lena became distant, almost distracted. Her laughter still sounded the same, but her eyes didn't match it anymore. She started scrolling through her phone during dinner. Sometimes she'd smile at a message, then quickly lock the screen. When I asked, she said it was work. Late-night emails, urgent clients, social media schedules. It sounded believable enough. But something about her tone didn't feel right. She used to leave her phone anywhere. Now it followed her like a shadow. Face down on the table, silent even when it buzzed. Once, I caught her deleting messages after reading them. She said it was to keep her inbox clean. I wanted to believe her. Because believing her meant peace. And I needed peace more than I needed the truth. Then came the name I hadn't heard in months. Mark. Her ex. He was having a hard time. Freelance work drying up, family issues, the usual mess. Lena said she was just being supportive. That they were still friends. I told her that was fine. I tried to sound calm when I said it. But inside, something cracked. She started getting calls she wouldn't take in front of me. She'd step outside, whisper for half an hour, come back drained. When I asked, she'd sigh and say, "He's not doing well." It became a pattern. Friday night calls. Sunday night texts. Excuses that always sounded noble. He doesn't have anyone else. I can't just ignore someone in pain. I told myself she was kind, not careless. But every time she left the room, the silence screamed louder. One night, while we were watching a movie, her phone rang. She froze. Then she said, "I need to take this, it's serious." She disappeared into the bedroom for almost an hour. When she came back, her eyes were red. "He's struggling," she whispered, "just emotionally wrecked." I nodded, even though it hurt. Because that's what love does to you. It teaches you how to stay silent when you should speak. Weeks passed. The calls got longer. The smiles between us got shorter. She stopped asking about my day. Stopped noticing when I was tired. It felt like she was living two lives. One with me, one with him. And I was losing both. I thought about confronting her 100 times. But every version of that conversation ended badly in my head. So I stayed quiet. Hoping she'd remember what we had. Hoping kindness would pull her back. But the truth was simple. She was slipping away, and I was pretending not to see it. Love had turned into waiting. Waiting for her to come home. Waiting for her to look at me the way she used to. Waiting for something I already knew was gone. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon. It was from Jake, a former coworker who'd moved to Austin 2 years ago. He sounded excited, almost out of breath. "Ethan, I've got something you need to hear." He told me about a new fintech company expanding fast, building a cybersecurity division from scratch. "They're looking for a lead engineer," he said. "Your background fits perfectly." I laughed, thinking he was joking. But he was. He started listing the details. Base salary, $135,000. Equity options. Relocation package. A leadership position where I'd build my own team. It sounded unreal. For years, I'd been working towards something like that without even knowing it. A chance to start fresh, to build instead of just maintain. "Think about it," Jake said. "They need someone fast, 6 weeks, maybe less." I told him I'd consider it. But the moment I hung up, I already knew my answer. It wasn't just about the job. It was about escape. A clean break from everything that was slowly falling apart. That night, I made dinner for Lena. Pasta with garlic and shrimp, her favorite. I wanted to tell her about the offer face to face. She sat at the table, scrolling on her phone between bites. "I got a call from Jake today," I said. She looked up briefly. "Yeah. He's in Austin now. Offered me a job, big step up." "Cool," she said, eyes already back on her screen. No questions, no reaction. Just another scroll, another story. "It's a leadership position," I added. "They want me to relocate." "That's nice," she murmured, still not looking up. That's when something in me went quiet. I didn't feel anger. Just clarity. In that moment, I understood exactly where we stood. I was making life decisions that could change everything. She couldn't even pause her feed long enough to care. After dinner, she kissed my cheek absent-mindedly and said she had to call Mark. He was going through something again. I nodded and said goodnight. Then I sat in the dark and reread Jake's email. The offer was real, official, waiting for my signature. I imagined the Austin skyline. New office. New air. No ghosts. The idea felt lighter than anything I'd felt in months. The next morning, I started planning. Researching neighborhoods, calculating moving costs, running through logistics. Each detail felt like a step toward freedom. But still, a small part of me hesitated. Leaving meant giving up on everything I'd built with her. But staying meant watching myself disappear slowly. So I waited, hoping she'd notice something, ask something, care about something. She didn't. And that silence told me more than words ever could. The job wasn't just an opportunity. It was a way out. And deep down, I already knew I was going to take it. The message came on a Thursday night. "At Mark's house. He's really struggling. Don't be insecure. Love you." I read it 3 times. Every word felt rehearsed, distant, practiced. It wasn't even the fact that she was there. It was how easily she expected me to accept it. As if my trust was endless. As if my silence was guaranteed. I typed a dozen replies, deleted them all. Then I wrote the only thing that felt right. Take all the time you need. She probably smiled when she read that. She thought I was being understanding. But I wasn't being kind. I was being finished. That same night, I opened my laptop. Jake's offer letter was still sitting in my inbox. I signed it. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Then I started making lists. What to pack. What to leave. What to cancel. I called the moving company and booked a last-minute relocation. They could pick up everything Saturday morning. Perfect timing. I spent the rest of the night packing in silence. The sound of tape cutting through cardboard filled the room. Every box sealed felt like closure. Every drawer emptied felt like freedom. By morning, the apartment looked less like home and more like memory. Lena texted again that afternoon. Still helping Mark. He's in bad shape. Might stay the weekend. I replied, do what you need to do. She probably read that as patience. She didn't know I was already gone. Friday, I gave notice at work. My boss was surprised but supportive. It's a big move, she said. You've earned it. I nodded, trying not to smile. She didn't know how true that was. I paid the penalty to break the lease early. Called utilities, canceled subscriptions, tied up loose ends. By Friday night, everything was set. Only one thing left to do. I sat at the kitchen counter with a blank sheet of paper. The final message. Not a goodbye. Just facts. Lena. I've accepted a position in Austin. This isn't about Mark. It's about priorities. Yours and mine are different. The lease is paid through next month. The transfer forms are on the counter. I wish you clarity and peace. Ethan. I placed the letter beside her favorite mug. Then I left the key on top of it. Saturday morning, the movers arrived right on time. They packed everything in 5 hours flat. I kept one suitcase, one laptop bag, nothing else. When the truck doors closed, I felt the weight lift. By noon, I was on the road heading south. Portland fatting in the mirror. No tears, no music, just silence. Somewhere past the state line, I realized something simple. She hadn't lost me because of one mistake. She lost me because she never noticed I was leaving. And that made it easy to never look back. The first call came 2 days later. Unknown number, Portland area code. I didn't answer. Then came another and another. By the 5th call, I finally checked the voicemail. Ethan, I came home and all your stuff is gone. What's happening? Call me. Her voice cracked halfway through. I listened once, then deleted it. Silence felt cleaner. That night, more messages appeared. Texts, missed calls, voice notes. They started calm, then desperate. Please tell me this is a joke. Did I do something wrong? You can't just disappear like this. I didn't reply. Because she wasn't looking for answers. She was looking for control. By the 3rd day, the tone shifted. Anger, denial, confusion. You're overreacting. It was one night. Mark needed help. You know I'd never hurt you. Every word sounded smaller than the last. Meanwhile, I was unpacking boxes in Austin. New job. New city. New air. Jake met me for coffee and introduced me to the team. Everyone was sharp, driven, grounded. No emotional chaos, no half-truths. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. At night, I'd sit on the hotel balcony and watch the skyline. The quiet didn't hurt anymore. It felt earned. By the end of the week, she'd left 17 voicemails. Each one a different emotion. Confusion. Anger. Bargaining. Regret. "Ethan, we can fix this. I'll set boundaries with Mark. I just need you to explain." I never did, because she already knew the explanation. She ignored it every time she chose someone else's needs over mine. A few weeks later, word reached me through mutual friends. She was telling people I'd abandoned her, that I'd left without warning, without reason. But lies have short legs. People started asking questions. The story didn't hold. Someone mentioned the nights at Mark's house. Suddenly, her sympathy started to dry up. I didn't care either way. Her world was no longer mine. Jake's girlfriend, Emily, told me later that Mark had moved on. Apparently, he'd never been in crisis. He just wanted attention. When Lena stopped being useful, he disappeared. Poetic justice, in its quiet form. I wasn't angry, just detached. Every day in Austin felt lighter. New colleagues, weekend barbecues, music in the streets. I smiled more, worked harder, slept better. Sometimes I'd think of her. Not with hate, not with nostalgia. Just with understanding. She was the lesson I didn't know I needed. That love without respect isn't love. That silence can be the sharpest answer. And that walking away, once, can save you forever. 3 months passed like a blur. Austin felt like sunlight after years of gray. Work thrived. My team was growing fast, full of sharp minds and quiet confidence. We built systems, solved problems, laughed between projects. The rhythm of creation replaced the noise of doubt. Every morning, I woke with purpose instead of tension. Every night, I slept without checking my phone. Peace became a habit. One Saturday, after a basketball game with coworkers, Ryan invited me to a barbecue. "Just a few neighbors, good food, nothing fancy," he said. I almost said no. I still wasn't ready for small talk or crowded rooms. But something in his tone made me say yes. That's where I met Sophie Rivera. She was Ryan's neighbor, a veterinarian with calm eyes and an easy smile. We started talking about nothing, and somehow it became everything. She asked about my job, my move, my favorite food trucks. I asked about her work, her rescue dogs, her life in Austin. She laughed easily, listened fully, and never reached for her phone once. It was strange how natural it felt. No tension, no guessing, no hidden meaning behind words. Just presence. When she spoke, she looked at me, not through me. When she laughed, it was real, not rehearsed. We talked until the fire pit burned low. When I walked her home, she said, "You seem like someone who rebuilt himself quietly." I smiled. Maybe I had. We started meeting for coffee. Short walks turned into long evenings. Conversations turned into comfort. There was no rush, no urgency, no fear of losing anything. Because for once, I wasn't chasing love. I was choosing peace. Sometimes she'd ask about my past. I told her pieces, never the whole story. She didn't push. She just listened and said, "You must have loved deeply to leave so completely." That line stayed with me. Love and leaving aren't opposites. Sometimes they coexist. By the time summer settled in, my apartment finally felt like home. Books on shelves, plants by the window, laughter in the kitchen. Austin had stopped feeling new and started feeling mine. Every so often, I'd think about Portland, about Lena. Not with regret, but with perspective. I heard she'd moved back with her parents. Lost her job, lost her sparkle. I wished her healing, even from far away. Because closure doesn't come from revenge. It comes from peace. One night, sitting on my balcony, Sophie beside me, the city lights glowing below, I realized something. I hadn't escaped my old life. I'd outgrown it. Pain had forced me to rebuild. But love, quiet, steady love, had made me stay. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just fine. I was free. She showed up one evening without warning. standing in the lobby of my building, eyes swollen from crying. She said she drove all night from Portland. "Ethan, please, I just need to talk." Her voice trembled, her hands shook. I hadn't seen her in months, yet she looked like a ghost from another life. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "Mark lied. He used me. Please, I need you." I stayed calm, hands in my pockets. "There's nothing left to fix," I said softly. "You made your choice. I made mine." She cried harder, said I was being cruel, that I'd vanished without giving her a chance. I reminded her of the night I'd tried to talk about Austin, how she never looked up from her phone. She froze, silent. Her tears slowed, replaced by realization. "You stopped loving me," she said quietly. "No," I answered. "I just started loving myself more." Security walked her out gently. I watched her car disappear down the street. The city lights shimmered against the windows. For the first time, I felt no anger, no sadness, only peace. Some endings aren't loud. They just arrive quietly and never leave.